Hi guys, Godwin here. Happy New Year. So, what better way to embrace the new year with a new video on differential equations? So, just context, short context. I said there's going to be a quiz tomorrow and the day after for many junior engineering, mechanical engineering students regarding VIBEENG, vibrations engineering, which has a lot of differential equation knowledge that needs to be discussed. And so I'm just making this video just to refresh our third years and at the same time for uh, second years to also be refreshed because I think already they've already discussed this. So I think that's enough introduction. Let's just go over to and yeah, the method of undetermined coefficients. I'll first discuss why it works and then I'll discuss how it works. I'll cite 5 examples. All right. So, ayan, method of undetermined coefficients. What do we use it for? Actually, this is just an additional bunch of steps that we need to do after we solve something like this. Something like a y prime prime plus by prime plus cy is equal to 0. Something like that, right? That's really easy because before this, I hope, before this step, we were introduced to a differential operator. Differential operator that means something like big D. I think some professors use M, some professors use R. That's no problem. Just know that this is the differential operator. And this just means that D is equal to a time derivative of something. Just so we know, nga pala, the independent variable here is going to be time. So, ayan. Let's fix that T. Ayan. So, if we plug this in, this differential equation into this differential operator, we're going to get something like this. So, y here is derived twice. So, it's going to be d squared, right? You get the logic. B here, and then y here is derived once. So, it's going to be bd, and then plus c. Y here isn't derived. So, it's just not going to be included with a d, right? And so equal to 0. That looks like a quadratic formula. Quadratic equation, right? And we use the quadratic formula to find what d is. D is supposed to be your solution. So d is equal to, ayan. So d is going to be equal to minus b plus minus, or two roots here, minus b squared plus 4ac all over 2a. And that's going to be your solution, right? So that's really easy just because, just a refresher we're going to put this into what we call our solution. So there are actually two types of solutions. So as of right now, the only solution that we've been introduced to is the complementary solution, which means that this is the solution that's supposed to be for this left-hand side, the one with the y's, right? The one with the dependent variables. So the complementary solution is just going to be some constant. Let's just say big A. Some constant and then e to the minus b plus muna tayo. Plus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then we said that our independent variable was t. So we're going to put that there plus another arbitrary constant b and then another e. And then we use the other root, minus b minus the square root of, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a and then t. That should be our complementary solution, right? And this is usually the answer if and only if the right side is equal to 0. But what if it isn't? What if there's an external force, I'll just call it big X, that's dependent on time, that acts on this differential equation, right? So in the sense of VIBEENG, I could write this down as, okay lang if you don't get this to the second years who are watching, you're gonna get it soon. I think you actually get it already kasi at the point of this being released, my Laplace transforms na yung iba. But anyway, and let's just say that we have this cart right here, and it has wheels, of course, and then it has a spring here. Oops. It has a spring here. and it has a damper right here, like that. And so sabihin natin that the mass of the cart is m, the spring constant here is k, and the damping coefficient here is c, right? So if we give it an initial condition, like if we pull it and then let go of it, that's going to be a differential equation with 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 the differential equation of m x prime prime dot dot pala x double dot, that's the same as x prime prime, right? And then plus cx prime dot plus kx is equal to 0, right? So let's just say that this is our function of x, right? So however the cart moves, right? But what if instead of us just giving it an initial condition, or us just like moving it apart and then letting it go, there's also another another force that acts on it and is a function, right? It's not just a constant like 5 or something like that, right? That would be too boring. So we'll give it big X t. And ano mangyayari kapag ganyan? So that's where the method of undetermined coefficients comes in, right? If this isn't too weird, if this external force function isn't too weird, we can use undetermined coefficients. So I'm going to give the three examples for that. So let's move away from the real life example now, and let's just go to solving, because ito yung kailangan if we're gonna solve our differential equations analytically as opposed to numerically, which we already know. That's RKN for the Runge-Kutta-Nystrom method for the second years who want to know. All right, my base example here is going to be ano to? Y prime prime plus 5y prime plus 6y is equal to 0, right? That's supposed to be easy because we're not even going to use method of undetermined coefficients. We're just going to solve it like we normally do. So for now, I'm just going to do it in terms of d, big D, kasi doon na ako nasanay. This y prime prime, this becomes d squared because it's derived twice. 5y prime is going to be 5d because it's derived once. And then 6y just becomes 6, right? If we solve this, we don't even have to go through quadratic formula. We can just factor this out. This becomes d plus 2, and then d plus 3 is equal to 0, right? 2 plus d, 2 times d, 3 times d, 2 times 3, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's correct. That would be really embarrassing if I got that wrong. That should give us a d of minus 2 and minus 3. And so how does this translate to us getting the solution for this function, right? As of now, there are no initial conditions for this. So ang magagawa lang natin, the best we can do is our general solution. We call that YG, I think. For some textbooks, I think they just call it Y, but there's no problem. We'll just clarify this is YG. Our YG here is just equal to our complementary solution because walang nasa right side, right? So there's no problem with that. And then this is just gonna be C1, that's our arbitrary constant. E, and then let's just take our first root, which is negative 2. So minus 2t plus our C2, E, let's take our second root, minus 3. And there you have it. That's our first example done. Right? Should be easy. I'll just write it down here para hindi tayo malagay sa alanganin for later. Our y complementary is going to be C1e minus 2t plus, C2e minus 3t. All right? And so, our second example comes from just changing one tiny thing here. Let's just change this 0 to, let's see my example. Okay, let's change it to 4e minus t. And this is where the method of undetermined coefficients start. This works because, this works because of the principle of superposition. So you might have heard this from your Mebasi. It means, diba, superposition there in that sense is that if you have like many sources And then if you take those sources individually, and then you combine them, you still get the same answer, right? In this example naman, in this sense pala, if you just take, let's just say, if you take just this c1 e to the negative 2t, and then you what do you call this? And then you plug it in here, it should work just as fine without our c2e minus 3t. And that should also work for just this. And of course, this should also work for pag wala sila pareho. But that only works if your right-hand side is equal to 0. But right now, it's not equal to 0. It's equal to 4e minus t. So what are we going to do? So we see that this undetermined coefficient is in the form of an exponential, right? What's nice about exponential is that if you keep deriving them, this becomes minus 4e to the negative t. If you derive that, it becomes 4e to the negative t, and then it just continues, right? So what's nice about them is that cyclic nature, right? And we can take a guess. Our guess is called a particular solution that, of course, the solution that corresponds to this is always, it's just going to be just some arbitrary constant times e to the negative t. Since hindi naman magbabago yung e to the negative t mo, right? The only thing that changes is the coefficient. That's why we call it the method of undetermined coefficients. So how are we, that is not 14. Okay, yeah. So how do we start solving this? So mangyayari, this is a solution already, right? This is a particular solution, right? So if we derive this, yp prime, we should get minus ae to the negative t. And if we derive this again, we get y prime prime of p, yp prime prime, which we have, we're gonna have ae to the negative t again, right? So, okay, that's it. What if we plug that in back into our original equation? Sabi natin, via the method of superposition, if one thing works here and one thing alone works here, then this should work alone, right? So let's try it out. Our yp prime prime is ae to the negative t. Our yp prime is minus ae to the negative t. So if we're gonna plug that in, we're gonna do that. Minus 5 tayo eh. Plus pala. Plus 5 tayo, so it's gonna be negative 5a e to the negative t. And then finally, our yp is just going to be 6a e to the negative t. And then we're gonna equal that to our 4e to the negative t. And so you see, it's really nice because what we can do is we can just cancel, right? A minus 5a, that's minus 4a. Minus 4a plus 6a, we get 2a is equal to 4. If we get a solid answer here, which is a is equal to 2, doesn't have to be clean. If we get a solid answer here, then our guess is correct. And finally, we can make our general solution. Let's just remember that our a is 2. Actually, we can write it down here. We can change that. And then our complementary solution is this one, right? So our general solution should be equal to complementary plus particular, which is going to give us c1 e to the minus 2t plus c2 e to the minus 3t plus, what's our particular solution? That's 2e to the negative t. All right. So that's our first example done. And so for our second example, we'll just change the right-hand side again. So you'll see a pattern here. What's our example here? I said 2 sine t. 2 sine t. So how are we going to do this? Okay na tayo sa complementary once again. And so let's take a guess at what we need for the particular solution, right? What do we put inside here? So meron tayong sine t, and what's nice about sine is that if you derive that, it's going to turn into cosine. If you derive cosine, it's going to turn into minus sine, but still it's a sine, right? But The bad thing here is that if you derive it, it turns into something else before it turns back into itself. So, what we can do to improve the accuracy of our guess para hindi na tayo magsayang ng oras is that we just put an arbitrary constant, we put sine here, and we put another one, which is cosine, right? You see this in, where is that? You see this in your integral calculus, right? Whenever you're integrating and then merong sine, you might think, there should also be a cosine there, right? And kapag nag-integrate tayo ng yung e times sine plus cosine, you need both, right? You need both sine and cosine. So, this is just my guess. Kapag merong kulang or if we can't solve any variable, that's fine. We'll just have to guess again, right? So let's just derive this once. We're gonna get minus a cosine t plus sorry, that's positive pala, sorry. A cosine t minus b sine t, right? And if we derive that yet again, we're gonna have minus a sine t plus, minus b cosine t. Ayan, di lang ako sanay sa screen. All right, so we'll plug that into the original equation, and we're gonna get this is our y prime prime minus a sine t minus b cosine t. All right, and then plus 5 of this, right? 5 of y prime, we're gonna get plus 5a cosine t. All right, I should put it here instead. Plus 5a cosine t minus b sine t. And then finally we get 6y, which is gonna be plus 6a sine t and then plus 6b cosine t, right? And so, nasa na tayo? It should be equal to 2 sine t. And why did I write it this way? Because as we've learned in partial fraction decomposition, in order for these two sides to be equal, kailangan yung mga nakadikit sa kanila, if you look at it from that perspective, they should be equal. The coefficients of them should be equal. So let's start with our cosine. So, meron ba tayo nakikitang cosine sa right side? Wala. So, mangyayari, of course, we're just gonna say plus 0 cosine t, right? And so, we see here all the cosine t's, and then we're going to equate. We're going to equate them. Ang mangyayari, it's minus b plus 5a plus 6b is equal to 0, right? So, let's just simplify. Minus b plus 6b, that's gonna be 5a plus 5b is equal to 0. And that's going to lead us to believe that a is equal to negative b. So that's a really useful relationship, right? On the other hand, dito naman tayo sa mga sign. Sine, 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 sine. So what we have here is minus a minus b plus 6a is equal to, I forgot about something. There you go. Kulang tayo ng 5. Ayan. That's why it looked fishy. Minus 5. Minus a minus 5b plus 6a. That should be equal to 2. Alright, let's just do some rearranging. We're gonna have minus a, what was that? Minus a plus 6a. Where is that? Minus a plus 6a is gonna be 5a minus 5b is equal to 2. We know that a is equal to negative b, so I'm just gonna substitute that. Oops. Minus 5b minus 5b is equal to 2. And so we're gonna get minus 10b is equal to 2. And so our b is gonna be minus 1/5. And since we know what b is, we know what a is, that's gonna be positive 1/5 lang. Alright? And so, finally, we have this general equation. I should have kept track of what we were doing. Anyway, lang. So our a is 1/5, our b is minus 1/5. A is 1/5. B is minus 1/5. So 1/5 minus 1/5. And then our general equation should just be C1 e to the negative 2t plus C2 e to the negative 3t plus 1/5 sine t minus 1/5 cosine t. And that should be our general equation, right? Well, I haven't even... Okay, tanggalin ko na ngayon. Hindi ko naman ginagamit. I haven't even changed the numbers. So, for the third one, we're going to change this now to 3t squared, right? 3t squared plus 1. All right, this is going to be second to the last example. So we see that the right side is actually a polynomial. And what's good about polynomials is that if you derive something like 3t squared plus 1, if you derive it, it's just going to be 6t, right? If you derive it, it's going to be 6. If you derive it, it's going to be 0. And if you keep deriving, it's not going to go anywhere except 0, right? That's what's good about polynomials. So the thing here, we shouldn't worry about anything that's higher than degree 2 for a polynomial because ide-derive naman natin siya, right? We don't need to have a guess that's a particular solution. We don't need to have a guess that's like t cubed, right? That's overkill. And we know that's gonna be equal to 0 anyway. Since yun nga, magko-compare tayo ng left-hand side and right-hand side, right? And so the guess here should be at squared. Let's not forget the t, bt plus c, right? If we derive this once, we get 2at plus b. And if we derive this once more, we get 2a. And so we plug that in again, we're gonna get, we're gonna get 2a, ito na yun, plus 5 times this, which is gonna be 10at plus 5b, right? And then our 6y, which is just this. 6 pala. 6at squared plus 6bt plus 6c is equal to 3t squared plus 1. So I'll just highlight, let me just fix this. I'll just highlight all the t squared. I'll just highlight all the t. And then I'll highlight all the constants, right? Constants. Alright, so ang pinamabilis na i-compare for now is just the t squareds, right? 6a is equal to 3. Of course, that's just gonna give us a is equal to 1/2. I should change that immediately. Para cool. Alright, 1/2 t squared. And so, okay, we can change actually everything else. 6a, that becomes 3t squared. So we can remove this actually. Boom. Goodbye. And then 10a, this becomes 5, right? It becomes 5. And then our 2a, that just becomes 1. And then if you actually see here, the 1 and the 1, they're already on both sides. So ganyan. And so what's left actually is just 0, right? Just highlight, that's a constant. And then let's remove this plus sign here. Ang natitira na lang nating pwedeng i-compare is our blue. So let's just do that for now. 5 plus 6b is equal to 0, right? Wala namang, it's like plus 0t, right? Wala namang t on the other side. So mangyayari, of course, that's gonna give us b is equal to minus 5 over 6, right? Right? So if we move the 5 to the other side, it's negative 5. Divide both sides by 6. Yeah. All right. So this becomes minus 5/6 t. And ang kulang na lang natin is the c. So we can remove this actually. Poof. Oh, no, not that. We can remove this and this. Ang kulang na lang is 5b plus 6c is equal to 0. What's b again? That's going to be 25 over 6. I know it's not that clean, but it's still clean. It's just 25 over 6. So, wait, really? Okay, minus pala minus. Okay. Minus 25 over 6. There we go. That's why I kind of hesitated for a bit. Ayan. So ang kulang na lang natin is the constants, right? Minus 25 over 6 plus 6c is equal to 0. If we move this on the other side, we get 6c is equal to 25 over 6. If we divide both sides, we're going to get c is equal to 25 over 36. Ayun. And so our particular solution is 1 half t squared uh minus 5/6 t plus 25 over 36. And let's just remove this. I know there's an easier way. I just forgot. Whoops. And then our general solution should be yg. Forgot there's a bunch of space here because the screen is too wide. C1 e to the negative 2t plus C2 e to the negative 3t plus whatever this is, 1 half t squared minus 5/6 t plus 25 over 36. Right? So that should be our general solution. And so finally, what if your prof was really mad at you because not a lot of people who went into your class the other day and then they decided to give something like, just the combination of all of the things I gave kanina. So 4et plus 2 sine t plus 3t squared plus 1. What's going to happen now? So, the thing about this, the method of undetermined coefficients, is that it works on, ayun nga, sabi nga natin, superposition. Right? So, the thing with superposition is that if you solve each of these things separately, right? We solved this kanina. We solved this kanina. And we solved this kanina. So that means if we just combine all of the particular solutions in that, we have a complementary solution already. We have a particular solution for this thing. Let's just say it's particular solution 1. And then our particular solution for the sine. And then our particular solution for the polynomial. This should be our general equation. I just put it here because I forgot to list down all of the the particular solutions for each one, but that should work. Period. And if you don't trust me, you can trust yourself. You can put this, you can compute it manually, and then it should all check out, right? If you put all of this and then you derive it once and then another one and then plug it into this equation, it should all equal out, right? That's the power of method of undetermined coefficients, and that's the power of superposition. Now, what shouldn't you use this for? You shouldn't use this for something like 1 over x. No. That's because if you derive it, the degree is actually gonna go up, right? Which is gonna be bad, right? Wala kang like stable wala kang stable configuration. You can't do this on tangent x because if you derive that once, secant squared x, you know where that's gonna go, right? And so what else shouldn't you use this on? Of course, kung bawal ang 1 over x, right? Because it doesn't like go to a stable state. Of course, bawal din ang ln of x, right? Basically any logarithm. So just think of whenever there's a polynomial, whenever there's sine or cosine, and whenever there's an exponential, you should use the method of undetermined coefficients. This also works on something like this. Something like this. That's no problem, right? Kasi yun nga, meron kang method of undetermined coefficients, you know what your guess is. It's just going to be something like e to the something something t plus times a sine t and then plus b cosine t. And that should be it. That should be your guess. That should work, right? We follow the rules of whatever we've learned before. And that should be it. That's it for undetermined coefficients, I think. I hope we're very prepared. I hope we're prepared at the very least pala for quiz 3 tomorrow, mga third years. I hope we do well. And yeah, that should be it. Thank you guys. I'll just draw a big Don't forget to like. Can't believe I'm doing that now. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the mess channel if you've learned something or if you've enjoyed watching this lesson. If you want any other topics, just leave us a message and we'll be sure to consider it in the future. So thank you guys. Don't forget to keep learning.